welcome. This is it's good to see so many faces on this warm Saturday in winter. It's still winter, right? Yeah, it's still winter.
To the 20th.
So we're going to get started. Before we move forward, I want Dr. Glenn A. Matthews, the Deputy Grand Master, to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone.
Great morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Great morning.
All right, that's much better. As James indicated, I'm Dr. Glenn Matthews. I'm actually the Right Worshipful Deputy Grand Master for the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge, free and accepted Masons for the state of Wisconsin, where our leader of our organization is Sean A. James Sr. He's our 35th Most Worshipful Grand Master. He's unable to be with us here today. So I had to pinch hit for him. And that's what we do as Masons. We cover for each other. Prince Hall Masons has been in the state of Wisconsin for over 100 years. We are in our 100th year, and we'll be celebrating our 101st grand session this June coming up. So we've been in the community for a while here. And this location at 1218, we've been in this building probably since about the late 40s and the 50s, so well over 80-some years here in this community. We have lodges in Kenosha, Racine, Beloit, and Madison, and soon to be hopefully up in Oshkosh and Sheboygan and Port Washington and Fond du Lac, where we know there's a lot more black communities that we can help make good men better. That's our mission. That's what we do. That's our purpose, make good men better. And we appreciate the opportunity to host this event for you all. We've had some great leaders who are Masons in the state of Wisconsin. Giving you a few of them. William R. Stark. Some of you all are familiar with Mr. Stark. Got Zeddy B. Hyler. That name sound familiar in this city, in this community. Frank Humphrey, was in charge of the NAACP. Dr. Ken Harris, you all probably hear Dr. Ken in the morning. We have one of our other own, Homer Blow, who's a member of Prince Hall Masonry here. And we also have like Robert Turner, who's down in the Racine area. So we have a lot of great men who have been who are Prince Hall Masons in this state, in this city. There's a call for action, and Prince Hall Masons, that's what we do. We're behind the scenes in a lot of things. However, we want to make sure that all Prince Hall Masons know the importance of gun safety and in this community, because we are here. We keep our eyes open. We're not always out front, but there's always a Mason somewhere close by help directing this community. We have our charge and our challenge to Prince Hall Masons is to get involved and make sure that the community is safe in all aspects of what we do. So that's what we want to make sure that you all know, that we're here to support you. Brothers, if you're interested in here's my call of action, like the doors of the church are open. Brothers, if you are interested in being a Prince Hall Mason, talk to Brother Lionel McAllister. He's in the back. He's the actual host of this event, who helped organize this event. And he's our senior deacon in our Grand Lodge. So he's in the back. He has some type of shirt on. I'm not going to tell you what team he roots for. But you can see that brother right in the back, and he will help you out. So with that, James, thank you, and thank you to the panels for being here and talking about this important event. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Greg Borowski, Executive Editor of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. My first task is to thank our co-sponsors for this event, which include Marquette University's O'Brien Fellowship in Public Service Journalism. The former director of that program, Dave Umhafer, is here with us, as well as more than a dozen community groups who made this happen. I also want to acknowledge our hosts here at Prince Hall, or more formally, the Most Worshipful worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge, state of Wisconsin. We're grateful for all of you guys being here today. So I've been in my role, I've been at the Journal Sentinel for 28 years, but in my current role since March of 2023. And as I figured it, once I got in the role, editors' years are like dog years, election years count double, and I'm the father of a teenager, okay? So I've been in my job for approximately 72 years. Now, within those 72 years, one of the things that I'm most proud of is all of the things that led us to this event today. And that's because it truly exemplifies what we can do as an organization and where we want to be. Now, in the newsroom, we talk about two things all the time. That's to be connected and be essential. And you can't be the second without the first. And you can't do either if you're not listening. So as journalists, our approach is we always start with the question. Okay, now not everyone does that. On this issue in particular, we know there's a tendency to start with an answer. People say, well, guns are bad, no one should have guns, or guns are essential, no one should do anything to prevent me from having a gun. But if you start with an answer as opposed to the question, you're starting from a closed-off place. You're not listening or learning or communicating, you're arguing. Okay? We're not here today to argue. This event grew out of a project behind the gun, you'll hear from John Diedrich in a moment, which he did through the O'Brien Fellowship, that started with its own question, which was, what if everyone was getting the nature of gun violence in Wisconsin all wrong? And it led to this question, what if what most everyone thought they knew, yes, in part because of media coverage, was only a partial picture of what was happening? That led to this groundbreaking project, and it led to questions we're asking ourselves more and more in the newsroom, and that's what if our job didn't end when we hit publish, or when that newspaper wound up on your porch? What if journalism was less of a lecture, a one-way street, and more of a conversation? What if our work could ground important discussions around vital issues? Would it draw people to the table to talk? And I think you see the answer here. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you for being part of the conversation and part of our journalism. Thank you again to our hosts. And now I can see on your faces you're all asking the very same question, which is, when will this guy be done talking? Okay? I'm done now, so I'm going to turn it over to John Diedrich, who's one of our longest tenured reporters, who was the real visionary behind this project. John.
Good morning. I have to move the mic down a little bit. Greg's a little taller than I am. Thank you, Greg. Thank you again to our hosts, Prince Hall, for everyone who came here. And as I look out over this crew, there's just a lot of you I talked to for the project, or I've gotten to know recently. So this is really special for me. For this project, this is full circle. In August of 2023, I went to a training in the basement here at Prince Hall. Vance was here, Theron was here. And at that point, I started to think differently. I've covered firearms injuries and deaths for more than 20 years here in Milwaukee. And I started to hear something different. And then what happened is James and I, who've known each other, we were both interns at the Sentinel back in early 90s, 92. We've known each other that long. We started having a conversation, and we went out to the community. And this event is really the product of those conversations. We talked to people in the community who said, we want to have a different conversation, a broader conversation. Often when things happen, as they sadly did, tragically they did, just in the last week in Milwaukee, often the comments or the message would be, put the guns down. And that is a fine and important message. And that's not the only message that people that we talked to in the community wanted to have. So we wanted to open up, not with an end in mind, but this is really the beginning, we think, of a conversation. So the message here today is not get a gun, but it's also not shaming people for having a gun. It's acknowledging that many people have guns, specifically in this neighborhood and in Milwaukee. And so we wanted to come up alongside, bring in a dream team of a panel here today, and open up some conversation. One thing that's important, I think, as we get started into this is Okay, so we're coming together in very polarized times. It's not accidental that we're coming in person, because as we wade into these areas, we know that this is going to likely bring up some strong emotions on all sides. We want to see each other's humanity first and be able to disagree respectfully when we do, and also maybe be open to finding some common ground. We do have some folks on the floor here who are skilled in comforting and wellness. They're back in the corner. If you have difficulty, if you're triggered by something that happens, if you just need somebody to come up alongside you, they're there for your help. So just let us know. I'm going to be, after this, I'm going to go out in the audience too, so please let me know as well. I just wanted to, for housekeeping, the bathrooms are in back. And at the end, we're going to have questions, and you'll be able to write those questions down, and I'll be able to ask those for you, or if you want to ask a question yourself. I just wanted to note that we're not going to be filming you asking questions, because we know these could be delicate or vulnerable conversations that we're having. There's also going to be some safety giveaways at the end, provided by Prolific Arms and Shepherd Arms. So thank you for them. And also, I just wanted to again tell you how excited I am that this is really a dream of mine, to bring this together, and it's just been a dream to work with my friend and colleague James Causey. So I'm happy to pass the mic over to him now. James.
So before we get started, I want to have Pastor Walter Lanier come up and give us a prayer to get us in the right frame of mind. So Pastor Walter Lanier, who's also the leader of Black Men Organizing.
Good morning, everybody.
Great morning.
Let us pray, and then James asked me to provide some brief framing remarks. God, we thank you for blessing us with this day. We do not take for granted the opportunity to be alive, to be in this place, and to be together, working, talking, planning, solving, building relationships. We pray for families who have suffered loss through violence. We pray you comfort the grieving, strengthen the weary, protect our children, our leaders, our people, soldiers on the battlefield, working to decrease violence. Give us wisdom to move beyond politics and territory, and the courage to move beyond fear. Help us to see one another as teammates, not strangers or opponents, but as partners in the work of healing our city. Bless the organizers of this gathering. Bless every organization represented here. Bless the work that will come out of this room. And most of all, Lord, remind us that peace is not something we wish for. It's something we must build towards together. Amen. Amen. So again, I will be brief. My name is Walter Lanier. I serve as the pastor of the Progressive Baptist Church, also chairman of Black Men Organizing, and I lead GLUE, Great Lakes Urban Empowerment Solutions. GLUE exists to help bring people, organizations, and ideas together to solve real problems in our cities. We work in partnership with a variety of people, in particular, as it pertains to violence, my brother's keeper, which focuses on creating pathways of opportunities for boys and men of color. One of the things, really the only thing I want to say in our room here as we talk about the talent and the gifts and the abilities in the room, if you just look around you, look to your left or to your right or to the back or up here at the table, really do it. Take a moment and look around the room. Milwaukee is a city that is rich in talent. We have talent in every place, in every space, every degree. We got Masons, we got media, we got electeds, we got lawyers, we got artists, we got creatives, we got organizers, journalists, editors, youth workers, principals, cross-culture, cross-religion. I'm just looking around the room, DAs, firemen and women. We've got it all. Our challenge here is our ability to work together. We know our city is highly segregated and highly siloed, not because of us. That's the culture of this city that precedes really everybody being in here. Culture trumps everything. Sorry for that bad word. trumps everything for the Trump strategy. It defeats resources. The culture always dominates. It's hard to override culture, and it's a segregated and siloed culture that we're in, and it makes it more challenging for us to get together and be effective. And that has to be our real commitment, to push through, to not point fingers, to try not to offend, try not to be offended, to come together and reconcile. Those are the keys to our success. If you go to other cities, you'll find that we excel many others. People come here to find out about 414 Life. People come here to find about the Milwaukee Community Justice Council. People come here to find out about our media, to find out about our gifted writers, to find out about our artists who put productions together, to find out about so many things. We have little pockets of greatness, but we too frequently are separated. My brother's keeper, and I'm almost done, they look to move systemic data. And one of the data points that always resonates for me is in Newark, New Jersey, they reduced their homicide rate by 55%. 55%, they reduced their homicide rate. Now, when we talk to them online, talk to their team, talk to their squad, talk to their leaders, talk to their foot soldiers, talk to their Office of Violence Prevention, talk to the police department, they do not have anything different at all than Milwaukee, Wisconsin, with one caveat. They have a longer history of working together and a longer habit of collaborating. That's it. Not more resources. They've got the same we have, but they have a longer history of working across sectors, across cultures, black and brown. They work together. They just have a longer history. It's not a criticism. It's just analysis. And so we've got to lean into working together. Their history is so good that their police department broke off 5% of their budget, thank you, and the 5% of their budget and gave it to their Office of Violence Prevention. So they are working together rather than pointing fingers. So I'm glad to be here. As we learn how to work together more effectively and collaboratively, we will make a big difference. We'll be significant. People will come to figure out how we did it here in Milwaukee. I'm glad to be here. Last but not least, we have a follow-up on the 21st. We'll be at Running Rebels. We'll have an second intergenerational dialogue on brotherhood and violence. God bless you.
Okay, let's get started. That was really good. Thank you, Pastor Lanier. So I'm going to introduce the panelists. I'm going to start immediately to my left is Homer Blow, music director, core DJ, and host of his online radio show, blowradio.com. He's a community leader, and he's provided thousands of kids with toys for his birthday party for the kids celebration. Homer Blow. Next to him is Michelle Bryant. She's the host of Say Something Real, a program on WNOV 860 AM, 106.5 FM. She is president of CMB Consulting and Associates and a political strategist and a former chief of staff for the state senate. She's also a community organizer. Michelle Bryant. Next to her is Eddie Silas. He is the co-owner of Prolific Arms, a director of Firearm Education, and a Firearms Instructor. And get this, he's one of only 15 African-American gun shop owners in the United States. And on the far left is Kevin Simmons, who I just got to meet about 2 years ago. This guy is amazing. He's a youth minister, a pastor, and he nearly lost his life to a youth with a gun on October 9th, 2023. And I think that's a good place to start. Minister Simmons, you shared your story with me, and you talked about how a 15-year-old nearly took your life when you were driving him during an Uber ride. And you've been on this long road to recovery. Can you explain to the audience how that experience changed you?
Well, thank you for having me on the panel. I thank everyone for being here today. How that changed me? It gave me more resolve because going back even prior to that, you know, you guys remember COVID happening here, everywhere, and we were told to stay 6 feet apart from everybody. Well, for some reason, everybody thought that was a good time to get together and do protests. And we did a protest, and we did a march out, me and my pastor back there, Thomas Melton. We was on a march from Milwaukee to DC. We were part of that march. And even a part of that, we was exposed to a lot of gun violence, you know, just walking from one place to another. People didn't like us walking, so they shot at us, shot people in our group, hit us with cars and all kind of things. We see that kind of violence. But that kind of made me realize that there are a lot of sundown towns out there. And then fast tracking to October of 2023, I realized that Milwaukee seemed to be a sundown town for our own people. That it was hard for us to be out at night because we might be victimized by our own people. So I was out at night driving Uber, and I picked up, he was actually 14 at the time. I picked up two young men, and they had masks on, but with COVID going on, I could not tell them that they could not ride with me because they got a mask on, you know. So they got in. Once we got to their destination, as soon as I put the vehicle in park, they put a gun to my head and shot me right in the head. And the bullet came out on this side, and then they proceeded to shoot me 5 more times after they put me out of my vehicle, which they could have took the vehicle and left, but no, they decided to shoot me 5 more times, trying to kill me. But they're not in control of life. They're not in control of death. That's God's job. So God saved me through that. So I've already been working, doing some protests, trying to help out the community, working with the Running Rebels, with Victor Barnett, trying to help even the community with passing out food, whatever we could do, because if you stop out poverty, you minimize some crime. If you could feed somebody, they may not have to go out there and commit a robbery to get some money to buy food. So we try to help our community any way possible so it could eliminate some kind of crime. Now, what this did with the young man shot me, and a lot of people wanted to retaliate. Now, that's not my spirit to retaliate. If he did that, that means we missed one. We missed one. We have to work harder to get the other ones that we missed. So he's out. He already had 7 adjudications prior to me. Why he's out with a gun at 2:30 in the morning, I don't know. But he was out there, so it makes me think that if he's out there, there's others out there as well. So we can't afford to miss our youth like that. We have to get more resolve that we want to help more than just victim to say, I'm a victim and now I'm mad at you. That's not the way to go.
This is a good point. Thank you for sharing that story. This is a good point that I want Eddie to jump in on. Now, Eddie, I know you sympathize with Minister Simmons, but you have your own story. Absolutely. And how you had to use a weapon to protect yourself. Can you explain to the audience how that experience changed you?
Well, of course, using my weapon in self-defense, it changed me forever, right? To the point to where I lost sleep, right? Stress set in, all the things set in, and I start to ask myself a question similar, like, we have to do more, right? There's no way that this situation can happen if education is present, right? Meaning that we have the responsibility to reach out into our community, grab the youth at a very early age and teach them as much as possible, because if we don't, situations like that, like me having to use my weapon in self-defense, and situations like yours, it happens, right? So we have that responsibility. We got to go deeper. We got to reach further, and then education is the passport to the future, right? And that's how we're going to get there.
Yeah, that's powerful. So one thing that Homer Blow does is he reads criminal complaints. And I think that's a valuable service, right? So he reads these criminal complaints and just to give you a glimpse of what's going on in our city. So, Homer, you've been doing this for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of the complaints that you read deal with guns and gun violence. What type of trends have you seen, and what motivated you to start doing this in the first place?
Oftentimes, we hear about the violence and the different things that are going on in and around our city. And people say, what the hell was this person thinking? Why would this person do that? That's crazy. You can't do this, you can't do that anymore. But they never, in my opinion, really had the content to go behind it. Families of these victims may have that information. They may receive a copy of the criminal complaint because it's about their loved one, it's about their family. But the rest of us were left to just ask, what happened? Why did they do such a senseless thing, a heinous act? So I felt like, with me being blessed to be in radio, terrestrial radio, 34 years and counting, June 11th, it'll make 35 years that I've been in terrestrial radio. And when I started my online station, blowradio.com, that's 18 years old this year, I had a platform to where I could read that information unrestricted, to where people really got a chance to find out what was going on. What were these people thinking about? So they talk, because in criminal complaints, they're going to talk to and Mirandarize the defendant, the person that is being charged, so we can find out exactly what was in his or her mind when this crime happened. Some of them seem more ruthless and callous than others. The disturbing details when we hear about our children being raped by people that are supposed to love and care for them, it really makes people, and from the years of me doing this, really start looking at people and paying more attention to their loved ones, to some of their family and to their friends, and to kind of get an idea, because it really breaks down what happened, how long ago it happened, how long this child has been exposed to this. And for you being a parent or a guardian or just a community parent, it makes you pay attention to the signs that maybe that family didn't pay attention to. So it's really a learning thing for the people in the community, which is public information and public records. So I feel that we should be able to hear those things and kind of get a better understanding. Some people who may use their gun and be like, that didn't make no damn sense that they did that. They could have handled this so many different ways. We've got a situation that just happened over last weekend. You get what I'm saying? That exemplifies that. Condolences to Sharita Barber, but that could have been handled in a different way, and it didn't. So hopefully it helps people, and they've told me that it has, to think about what's going on and to really know what they should be looking out for. Where did this occur? I was going in my garage and this happened. I was coming into my house in the front door and this happened. Someone had broke in and this happened. So to have that information, I think it helps us to be better prepared and to understand how we have to be more attentive and how we need to pay attention to someone that may be having mental health or somebody that's just out here acting a damn fool.
Right. So, yeah, good point. So, listening to you, I know that you're a gun owner, and Michelle, I know that you're a gun owner and you're a proponent of owning guns. But can you discuss how guns are viewed differently? And Michelle, I want you to start, but any of you could jump in on this. How guns are viewed differently in the city compared to the suburbs, and why aren't there any gun stores in Milwaukee?
Okay, so that's loaded. Good morning.
No pun intended.
It's a whole lot on my shoulders over here. Good morning, everyone.
I'm sorry about that.
No, you did it on purpose. Let me, definitely start off by saying I certainly believe in the Second Amendment right to carry a firearm. African Americans in this country, prior to its inception, during, the founding of it, were explicitly prohibited from owning firearms. Even if you were a freed person, there were laws that allowed people to come into your home and search your home because they did not want even free African Americans or black people at the time to own a firearm. So first and foremost, if everybody else got the right, I'm gonna have that right too. But the other thing is, we know, and I mean, even when it came to voting, when it came to home ownership, there have always been disparities in the way African Americans have had access to the things that everybody else has had. And we've been told that there was diminished mental capacity, that you aren't capable of, being responsible, that you have certain intrinsic things that you may do that just make you a person that should not own a firearm. So laws were on the books, created consistently, whether it's the black codes, post-Civil War, that, these things were enshrined into legal doctrine about one particular race. And then at times we also saw indigenous people, at the time called Native Americans, who also had those same restrictions put on them. So first and foremost, out the gate, if I'm an American citizen, then I'm an American citizen. But the thing that we do know as, a gun owner is that I still have to think about my gun differently than my white counterparts sitting in the office when they walk out the house with their gun. Yeah. And I think about Philando Castile, who was pulled over, wasn't driving the car, pulled over by the police for a traffic violation. His girlfriend or fiance was driving, and he said to the officer, "Just so you know, I'm a concealed carry holder." He was shot and killed in his car. He hadn't reached for the gun, he hadn't done anything, with his 2-year-old child sitting in the back seat. And that officer fired into that vehicle knowing it was a child sitting in that back seat and killed a person who had not pulled their gun, but simply said, "I'm a concealed carry owner," and that all of a sudden made him a threat. So I understand, and my son is a gun owner, his wife is a gun owner. I understand that even though that Second Amendment right is supposed to apply to me, the minute someone sees this skin color, that I can be handled very, very differently, and in most cases unfavorably as a gun owner. So I am someone that talks about these things, and the last thing I will quickly say is that in the state of Wisconsin, we changed our hunting laws so that, because it used to be that kids as young as 10 years old could be trained on firearms under the guise of hunting and be able to go out into the woods and hunt. I'm from the South. We hunt in the South. My brothers, my grandfathers, everybody hunt in the South. Ate way too much deer, just too much. But we changed the laws in 2017 in the state so that a child as young as 6 years old could be allowed to go and hunt. And they could be trained by someone that was 18. The reason why I bring that up is that in the black community, we are constantly saying, put the guns down, get rid of guns. In fact, we go so far as have our local alder, common council, to put in ordinances in place or zoning in place that we don't even have a gun shop in the city of Milwaukee. That's done under the guise of protection. But if I'm gonna be a gun owner, I gotta drive to another municipality to buy a gun, and I live in one of the biggest municipalities in the state. That's nonsense to me. But that's the way it is. And so when we're telling our children, put guns down, we're not gonna teach you how to responsibly own a gun, how to fire, shoot a gun, what these guns are intended for. But in white communities, they got kids as young as 6 years old on the hunting range, learning how to actually shoot. And so think about the imbalance when you think about what's happening right now. So those are some of the things that, drive the work that we do and the positions that I take on some of these issues.
To kind of piggyback on what Michelle was saying, I think it's very important that we as a community, and especially a black community, we teach them, as Michelle said, to be afraid of guns. No, we need to teach them gun safety. That is what is going to help save their lives. That is when they're going to know to go get an adult when they see a weapon, as opposed to picking it up thinking that it's a toy and they can play, and then we have a sister, brother, or somebody else that may lose their life at the hands of that particular weapon. I think we need to teach them gun safety. not to be afraid, but to know exactly what to do. The same way that anybody else in this country has a right to learn, and as Michelle said, the legislation changed to where they can be as young as 6 years old now. I also have a philosophy for myself. I am a licensed CCW. My wife is also licensed CCW. And with hearing and knowing that there's some illness and some sickness inside of our community, and anybody that wants to deny that, I don't know where you've been living, but I live in the Sherman Park area. So I'm just saying, with that, I have come up with, I'm a responsible gun owner, but I would rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6 when it talks to being able to use self-defense when self-defense is needed, or to protect my wife or my children. So again, I know some of you may have some relatives, some friends that have some mental health illnesses. I don't know that. My wife don't know that. My kids don't know that. So if I see you being imminent danger because you didn't take your medicine or you didn't take your pills, get your family members, get your friends, because I and my wife would rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Go ahead, Eddie, and then I have a quick question for you.
Okay. One of the biggest things I think about, because there are no gun stores in the city of Milwaukee, right? When you take those gun stores away, you take away the resources, right? The gun education, right? You literally stripped us of our educational resources when you did that, or the ordinance that was created. So it's super important for us as a community to put that back into place. We have to. And that's the only way we're going to move forward. I think it's systematic, right? Meaning that, you know, Milwaukee is predominantly black, right? And you look around and there's no education available. This is like a systematic thing, right? It constantly happens. And the only how we're going to get in control of the violence and all the things, and I say that because like the situation that happened downtown with the young lady getting out the car with the gun, that's an educational thing, right? She should have known not to do that. And it's education. We got to constantly put that there. And if not, we're going to keep revisiting these problems over and over again.
So let me ask you this, Eddie. As a gun shop owner, your job is to sell guns.
Yeah.
Have you ever like denied someone a gun, you know, even though they had the money, they were ready, but something just didn't seem right? And what do you have those types of conversations?
Absolutely.
What does that look like?
Oh, absolutely. I have the right, or anybody has the right to refuse to sell for whatever reason, if your shoes are red that day, right? But, I mean, it's not that, but it's been times where families have contacted me and said, hey, such and such shouldn't have a gun, right? And then I have the support of another family member, like, hey, I need 2 more people. If you can write me a statement, I'll deny the sale, right? And I have, right? They said this person was having a mental health issue, right? And when he came into the store, I'm like, oh, he does, right? And you can tell. So my thing is, the families, like Homer Blow was saying, the families got to get out ahead of it too, right? The families, you got to have involvement. You got to know if somebody is having a mental health crisis and get involved, right? Get involved. I guarantee you, if that family took that same letter to another gun store and another gun store and another gun store, you're going to have the denial of the sale over and over again till this person get the help they need.
But wait, can I ask a question? Because in Wisconsin, we do not have red flag laws. Red flag laws are the ability for you to be able to say that I suspect that this person, for whatever reason, should not have a firearm. So I guess I'm interested if the family shows up and says, you know, we believe that this person shouldn't have a firearm because of mental health issues, but that person contests that and says, my family just tripping and don't want me to have a gun, because we're not one of the 22 states in this country that have red flag laws. How does that work?
I mean, again, I can just deny the sale for whatever reason, right? If I don't feel good about it, I'm not going to, like, here's the thing. There has been moments, and again, we've been in a paper for transferring a firearm or a part of a firearm to someone that used it to shoot a cop, right? We was in the paper for that. My thing is a federal background check is ran, right? Meaning the federal government approved for this to happen, right? So once that approval happens, what can I do, right? Besides transfer the firearm other than, because I don't know this person. I don't know this person coming into the store. The family knows this person, right? And then after that situation happened, I went and I checked out this guy's social media. There was signs of mental health issues right down his timeline. You mean to tell me his family didn't see any of that? Nobody got involved, right? And the easiest thing to do is to shift the blame instead of saying, hey, I'm responsible for my family. I'm responsible for everybody in this community, right? I did him a disservice because I didn't get involved, right? And that's what it's going to take for everybody to get involved in your family's life, in your friend's life. If you know someone is having some mental health issues and going through something has to be done.
Right. So you guys brought up some interesting issues, especially when it comes to education. This question is for Minister Simmons. So, other states are starting to educate children about gun safety. It's something that's starting to take place across this country. As a matter of fact, one man was interviewed by NPR. He's a gun trainer, and he actually said this. He said, his name is Jackson Beard. He said he teaches introductory classes to children as young as 8. He said, I would rather raise a responsible generation of gun owners than a generation of gun owners who have never been exposed to the safety message and respect message and the proper use of these guns. I guess my question to you, and I'll start this with Minister Kevin, is that what are your thoughts about teaching young people gun safety?
It's a great idea, but it'd be a waste of time if you never teach the gun owners, the parents as well. If they don't know, what good is teaching your kid? If they have to know as well. In Wisconsin, we have a CAP law, which is a child not being having access to guns, CAP, child access prevention law. And that is not a proactive law, but it's a reactive law, meaning if the child gets a gun and does something bad with the gun, that the parents can be held responsible. Unfortunately, it's only a misdemeanor still, even after they kill somebody or they try to kill somebody, like in my case, the parents can only be held with a misdemeanor, Class A misdemeanor, which is kind of, I'm not advocating for locking everybody up. I don't think that's the answer either. But if you educate the parents, because this child, the one that shot me him and the sister already stole his mother guns before and went out and committed many crimes.
And what did they offer him at first?
Well, the wraparound program recommended that he get 1 year in juvenile. He never tried as an adult. He stayed in juvenile.
And he almost killed you.
And the judge said that he just need a program. I mean, and they didn't charge with attempted homicide. He was charged with reckless injury.
And
but there's nothing reckless about putting the gun in my head and pulling the trigger. That's not reckless.
And if you didn't go down there, he probably would have got that.
Yes, we had to go down there and make a statement and all that. And the judge did see that he needed more. Like I said, he had 7 adjudications from 13 to 14. Then he shot me at 14 and recommend a year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a slap on the wrist. So there's no reason why they won't continue to do it because the penalty is so light.
Michelle.
So just a couple things. The CAP law, which is a Class A misdemeanor to recklessly store or leave a loaded firearm within reach or easy access of a child under 14. So it's one thing for a parent who had, while I wasn't as responsible as I needed to be about storing this firearm, and my child gets access to that and then does something, horrible with that gun, versus like in this case that we just saw where this father has now been found guilty of providing his son, who he knew had problems, with this with the firearm. Subsequently, people are killed and harmed. So I want to make sure we're clear about that there are things that happen, even in the state of Wisconsin, if the parent intentionally is getting a gun into the hand of a child who that shouldn't have it. But the other thing, and I know a lot of people get really emotional, and I'm going to say this with the background that my son's father was the victim of gun violence. He was walking home from a store, and some teenagers drove up on him. He had just bought my son a dog for Christmas, and some teenagers ran up upon him and wanted the dog. He wouldn't give it to him. He actually laughed it off. He's a big guy, 6'4". These were like teenagers. He was like, go on. And when he walked away, they shot him in the back of the head. He did not die, but the bullet remains lodged in the back of his head to this day. My son was 6 when he bought that dog. My son is now 41. So he's been walking around with this bullet in the back of his. So I preface that to say I've been impacted personally by gun violence, but I also have a child welfare background. I worked at St. Emilion Lakeside, on the old St. Emilion Lakeside, 89th and Capitol, and I had kids in my unit who had actually committed murder. And I would have people that like, no, these children should be tried as an adult. They knew what they were doing and da-da-da-da-da. This is the area that I have problems with and I struggle with, because you can't go into Potawatomi Bingo Casino Hall under 21 and put $1 in a slot machine. You can't drive a car until you're 16. We have all of these things that you cannot do because the science says your mind is not mentally developed enough to be able to fully understand the consequences of these actions. When it comes to gun violence, it's like we forget all of that. And so kids as young as 10 years old, should we be waving them into adult court? These questions are legitimately being asked. And I know it frustrates people, but I'm sitting here like the same rules that make that child mentally incapable of understanding putting $1 in a slot machine is the same thing that makes that child mentally incapable of understanding at 10 and 11 and 12 years old the outcomes of what you did with a firearm. And it does not sit well with people. But we gotta stop having rules that apply over here, but they don't apply over here. But it's the same science. The same science that dictates what a young man under 25 years of age pays for car insurance. I was so glad when my son turned 26, I didn't know what to do. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, and so I want to move this on because I got a couple of more questions to get to, and I want you to start thinking about some of the questions that you have for this dynamic panel. So this statistic really shocked me to the core. Do you know that 59% of the guns that are stolen in this city are stolen out of vehicles? Did anybody know that? That's 1,600 guns a year. And that's just the ones that are reported. Just think about the ones that are not reported. So, yeah. So, I guess anybody could take this, but what are the recommendations on storing a gun in a car? And what should you do if your gun is stolen? I think people should know that. You could take that.
All right, so lock boxes. Lock boxes is the solution. And again, this is why it's so important to have, just like that one, right? That's why it's so important to have resources in the city because, again, this information should be shared and it should be put out there. Like 59% of the firearms stolen, that are reported stolen, are stolen from cars. But why is it a secret? Why is it a secret? Everybody should know this information. That way we can start providing solutions to different style lock boxes, what to do if your firearms are stolen, who knows what to do? What are you supposed to do, right? What you're supposed to do is have the serial number recorded somewhere, make, model, serial number, and you go to the police station and file a claim. That's what you're supposed to do. It's not the law though either, right? If your firearm is reported stolen, it's not the law that you have to go even report it, right?
Okay.
So.
And the consequences of reporting it, because if you don't have a CCW, even though this is an open carry state, then some people are reluctant to report because you create a problem for yourself.
Right.
Because you're traveling with this gun in your car, and open carry does not apply in that way. So,
Right. So, yeah, you want to report that as soon as possible, right? As soon as possible, because, again, those guns are used in violent crimes. So if we learn to lock up our weapons, we can curb the violent crimes in the city of Milwaukee, right? We can, like, direct impact.
I agree with that, but with the way that crime unfortunately happens in the city, there are people who rather be caught with it than without it. People don't want to go to the trunk, put their fingerprint on there, because I got a fingerprint lockbox, and all my kids are grown. But people don't want to, yeah, because the people that are coming to accost you, the people that tried to kill Pastor Simmons, he needed something right then, right now,
Right.
but then when the gun was pointed right to his head, it's like, what the hell do I do? So I understand we got so many businesses, and I understand why that say you can't take your gun inside. But if you know that, look, I'm here to protect not only myself, but I'm here to protect my family as well. And I know some of these people, they may be mental health for some, but all these fools ain't got mental health issues.
Yeah.
Some of these just some ignorant people.
Yeah, that's true.
You get what I'm saying? So
True.
that's why I say I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Right.
I have, again, I am a legal gun owner. I don't have any felonies on my record or whatnot. I haven't had to use it to shoot anyone. The times that I shoot it is at the gun range. So that's a blessing for me, because I bet it's a lot of other people that may be in this room or know somebody that had to use it because they were in a situation where they felt that they were in imminent danger. Again, that's the importance of learning. If Sharita Barber, may she rest in peace, and to all her family and friends, had really taken the time to even go to, if you pay attention, if you got your CCW, I don't know if she had her CCW or not, but if you really pay attention and get that information of your do's and don'ts, when you can and when you can't. Just because somebody cussed at you, you are not in imminent danger. And you have to know the difference. Yeah. So me carrying my gun does not make me end up saying, ooh, I can't wait for somebody say something to me or call me a bad word or call my wife a B word or something like that, and I can't wait. I'm going to do it. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Because I know the rules of engagement. I know what I can and I can't do. But again, they carrying these guns and they're not putting them in lock boxes because a lot of these people feel like they need quick access.
Right.
And
So-
having it in a lock box is not going to give them quick access.
Right.
In my opinion. That's just
Right.
my opinion.
So lock boxes is just like storage. Like when you come across those places, you go into the federal buildings or police stations or anything like that. That's just for like quick storage. Or let's say if you go have a happy hour after work, I need to lock this weapon away, right? So that's just for storage like that. It's not like when I'm in my car and I'm present, my gun is on me. Right, when I'm present, it's
I'm
literally
not
on me.
alone. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
it's on me. I don't listen. However, if I go to a happy hour, if I go, anywhere, it's going to be in that storage box, right? My partner, he always tells me this.
Let me interrupt real quick. So, can you have a gun like loaded on you while you're driving?
Absolutely. As long as you
can.
have your concealed carry license,
Okay.
then it can be anywhere in the car,
Okay.
on person,
Okay.
in your glove compartment or wherever it is you choose, because it's legal at that point.
Okay.
But the moment you decide to not have a CCW and you go storing that weapon, then you breaking the law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to say, but a lot of times when I hear you speaking about the restaurants, I go out of town a lot, and yeah, maybe I can put it in my lockbox.
Yeah.
But here in the city,
It's on you.
here in my city,
It's on you.
it's hard to sit and say, put it in the lockbox when I go to a party at a club or a lounge. And for me, I'm DJing or hosting. It's hard to say, put it in the lockbox. No.
Right. Well,
So I'm just saying, I
I
get it. And
So-
I don't know if anybody with me, but I'm just telling you how I am.
Look, I'm with you, but if I'm having any alcoholic beverages,
I don't
right?
drink alcohol.
Okay, so if I'm having any alcohol, I mean, you know what I mean? That's where I go to a party.
Hey,
or a bar.
I need to interrupt. I need to interrupt. Because while, yes, 59% of guns are sold out of cars, I just got to be careful about the messaging, the imaging that we create for the city of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Because overwhelmingly, things that happen here happen everywhere.
True.
And people get real hell-bent, stuck on Milwaukee is the worst, Milwaukee's unsafe, Milwaukee is this. And you got to be careful how you frame out these conversations.
Absolutely.
So that's the only thing I'm going to ask people to do, because while I'm hearing all of this, I'm also hearing that neither of the people sitting on the side of me has had anybody break into their car looking for their gun. Nobody's ever broken into my car looking for a firearm or broken into my car at all.
Right.
Oh, wait, no, that's wrong.
You know what? Can I interject there? So let me interject there. So my partner, right, we all live in the city of Milwaukee. You've had, 3, 4 different cars now? Every single one of the cars were broken into right in front of his house. Every single one. And how many windows have you replaced? Right? He embarrassed at this point. But
He don't need a new car, he need a new house.
Minister Simmons wanted to jump in.
I want to say something. Okay, I'm not against guns, gun or CCW's done it. I'm not against that, even though being a victim of a gun violence crime. I'm not against it. But let's talk about the 1,600 guns that we talked about that were stolen out of vehicles. Where are they going? They're not going to the hands of responsible people. Let's talk about those. Where are they at? If children are doing it, they know they're stealing cars. The kid boys breaking into cars, or everybody breaking into cars and trying to find a gun. The one that shot me, his mother kept 2 guns in their car. The kids knew it, so they went there and got them whenever they wanted to commit crimes. Let's talk about those 1,600 guns that's out there with people that is not responsible. Yeah. Where the parents at? Are you checking to see what your kids bringing into your house? They walking around with book bags all the time. Are you checking to see what's in their book bag?
Good point.
The Fourth Amendment search and seizure don't apply to parents and kids. They can search. They can search. Yeah. So search them kids, see what they got in their book bag. Check their rooms. See, they run around with these, what they call poo shiesty masks and everything. And I believe there's legislation out there now that's trying to stop some of that. But, like I said, they got in my vehicle with masks on in my Jeep because they think that all Jeeps are vehicles they can run around and drive fast with. Mine wasn't. But they don't know because he's 14. He don't know. But the thing is, them 1,600 guns is what we could focus on, and those are the ones we want to make sure the parents are checking your children.
Yeah.
See what they do. Why are they out past curfew? Why are they out all times of night and doing whatever they want to do? You don't see them until they need money or something from you. Yeah. Not going to school and everything. That's why I say teaching kids, gun safety thing, that's cool. But you got to teach the parents first. Teach the parents to make sure their kids don't have guns in their possession and run around doing things with guns with their friends. And maybe you could save their life and somebody else's life.
Go ahead, John.
I was the cause of that feedback, so sorry about that. Yeah, fantastic conversation. Just exactly what we talked about here. This is it. It's real. So the conversation that I had in 2023 when I observed the training in the basement was the guidance that was given to students from Theron and Vance at that point was the Department of Justice in Wisconsin recommends that you keep your firearm unloaded, locked, and separated from the ammunition. And the students who were down there sort of all chuckled, like, that's not why I'm here. And so what I want to lean into a minute here is building off what we talked about with the cars is that, okay, so, and this would be for Eddie, so there is a difference between a stored gun and a staged gun, right? So I see some nodding, stored, and that was new to me. So a staged gun is one that is available for home defense, but is still not accessible to somebody who is not authorized to have it, is this the way it's been explained to me. I wonder what sort of best practice guidance you give. Let's say a scenario that you have a young mother who has small children. Maybe she has teenagers, who are impulsive, or maybe has an older person in the home who's changing mentally and so forth. what sort of best practice guidance might you get? What kind of questions would you be asking her?
Again, just building out that family safety plan and what it looks like is going to be critical. Family safety plan consists of simply who's going to have access to that weapon, how I'm going to store that weapon, and what are the best practices, what are these weapons going to be used for. So, a person like me, I have multiple firearms. Long guns, which are ARs, and shotguns too, right? But I also have quick access weapons to where if I need rapid access to it, those are the staged weapons. I can use a biometric lockbox, rapid access, and get to that weapon really quickly if I needed to. So I think staging that gun, and again, it's like right next to my nightstand, right? Just in case you hear a bump in the middle of the night, now I can have rapid access if I need to. The long-term storage is when you have like cable locks and those different type of locks to where now I can put a barrier of security between my child and my weapon, right? So that's what you want to do.
Yeah, good. I think we're ready for questions now, James. So a little bit of guidance. James gave me this rule: I cannot let go of the microphone. So that's the rule. But I'm going to start over here. And again, if you could stand and ask your question, please.
First, I'd like to announce that we have a program that educates on gun violence. But my thing is, what difference does any of this make when you have a child that's afraid of someone and they know mama got a gun under the mattress? It doesn't make a difference. My question is, what is the expiration date on revenge, get back, or vengeance?
What is the expiration date?
For some people, it's no expiration date, and which is why our DA stays so busy. Because some people have no expiration date. Everybody wants to get their lick black.
And you know,
And until we understand the importance of breaking that cycle, that sometimes, because even if we go and look at the Italian, the mafia family, they'd have the meeting like, look, I know you killed my son, but we got to stop. We got to stop where it's just going to be consistent bloodshed. So we're going to work this out. So part of that is bringing our community truly together to whereas we understand that we got people that we got 414 Life that tries to go. We got so many different violence interrupters that they're waiting to be deployed. So if you know something, don't let it turn into where you know these people want to get their lick black. We got to use the resources that we have. We have running rebels who have saved, I guarantee you, tons of lives for decades. Because if they hadn't have been there before there was a 414 Life, before there was credible messengers, it would be a lot more homicides in this city. It would be a lot more people living with gun violence in this city. So we have to understand that we got to have these kind of conversations. We can't sugarcoat them, and we got to keep it real. But some people want they lick black, and they don't want to hear it.
but
My
to
answer,
that, can I?
my answer to that is 2 minutes and 56 seconds. That's the answer to it. When Peter asked Jesus about forgiving people, and he said 7 times a day, he said, no, 7 times 70. So that's 490. If you do the math on that, that comes up. You got 2 minutes and 56 seconds to be mad. Then you got to forgive that person. When I was shot on a Monday morning, 3 o'clock or 2:30 Monday morning on October 9th of 2023, I don't recall anything until the Thursday night, being in the hospital at Frederick. I don't know if I was awake at all, but I don't recall anything. But just before I became conscious, I heard God tell me, you got another chance to get it right. That's something that Victor Barnett always says, another chance to get it right. And before I fully gained conscious, I forgave the young man for what he done. Because if I'm going to need forgiveness, I got to forgive first. You have to. I know it's a hard pill to swallow. It is. But it's part of the Lord's Prayer that you got to forgive. Lord, I'm asking you to forgive my trespasses as I forgive others who trespass against me. So how can I expect God to forgive me for anything and I can't forgive? What level is there that we go play? Where we go draw the line at forgiveness? So we're gonna do it 490 times a day. You got 2 minutes and 56 seconds to get over it.
But
And then that's what you gotta
Pastor,
forgive.
I do think though, to the question that the brother raised, and he framed it in a way that we were talking about adolescence, at least in that terms of that question, because you use, even though adults can be bullied, you use that whole bullying piece. So it is broader in terms of giving people resources, because, I was about to say I was bullied, but I wasn't, so I was like, but I know people that were bullied that grew up in homes that had firearms, and the resort was not to go and get the firearm. You had been given different, I hate to use the term toolkit because I think we overuse it, but you had been given information about things that you could do as an alternative. To go get the gun was not the first thing. We definitely have a situation where, number one, people, I think, thinking about the shooting that happened downtown, people become emboldened because they have a firearm. People who normally, like if you got to take a behind whooping versus being able to pull out a gun, you might think about that fight differently. You might think about how you react differently. It's something about sometimes you become just emboldened because you have that gun. But I think that a lot of this speaks to our personal development, our personal, abilities, that I'm not a person that's going to pick up the gun whether the gun is sitting on the table or not. That's just not the way I've been trained. That's not the way I've been brought up. So before we can get to the forgiveness piece, because I think that's a different level of maturity, even though we can teach our children that at a young age, I think that we also got to talk about what are we giving people in terms of conflict resolution, in terms of how to deal with issues and problems that, quite frankly, happens in the home. And we continue to set so many bad examples. We do. I mean, I'm not going to make it political, but we are living in a climate right now where people talk to people so crazy. And it's happening in the highest office in the country, where you hear people calling folks losers and you're crap and you're stupid. And it's just like, this is the adults. Because we keep talking about what the children are doing, but we got adults that are setting horrible examples. So
I call them Toys R Us adults. They grown, but they doing stuff that we would expect our younger teens and children to be doing. But you grown. You up here trying to get gold grills and you need to go get your teeth fixed. You up here trying to get a car or a truck that got these big wheels on them and you need to be going to see a chiropractor. You know what I'm saying? You got some of the younger teens going to try to hang outside of nightclubs to see if they can pick up a grown woman. But then you got these grown-ass men that are going to the high schools trying to pick up the kids.
Okay. Another question.
Thank you. Thank you so much for creating this space for this really amazing conversation. Culturally, I just even growing up here, I grew up here, I came to the States in the early 80s, and I didn't find out until I was an adult that my dad had a gun. Never saw it, never knew that he had one. If you all can talk a little bit about educating our young people, our children, we know that our 6-year-olds aren't being taken out to go hunting. We know that. What does education look like for children and teens? Please share a little bit about that. Thank you.
With me, I started at a very early age. So I have 3 boys. One is 23, one is 22. Then I started all the way back over and had a 6-year-old now, right? So, but
Bless your heart.
one of my thing is I take every opportunity to educate my son in firearm education. Meaning, so when we play with toy guns, when I'm I'm stacking cups up on the table so we can shoot the cups off the table. I'll pass in front of him and he'll put the gun down. Why did he do that? He did it because it's one of the 4 fundamental firearm safety rules. Never point a weapon at something you don't want to destroy. So he's learning the 4 fundamental firearm safety rules, and he'll have a healthier relationship with the gun as he gets older. My examples are his older brothers. I did the same thing with them. And again, they have a very healthy relationship with firearms because it was introduced early. I remember finding my father's shotgun in the basement. I was in the basement. I grew up on 91st and Brown Deer, right off in that area. And I was in the basement. I was doing pull-ups on the gas pipes down there. Super weird, I know. And I saw this thing sticking out, and I just seen the Terminator, right? So I knew how to rack the slide. So I put a couple 5-gallon buckets up. I climbed up there, got the shotgun down, and I'm downstairs in the basement. I'm just racking the slide. My father chose to hide a weapon from me versus telling me, showing me, and giving me direction. Because the resource that I had was Terminator. The resource that these kids got is this phone, right? Rap music, which is horrible source of information as it relates to guns. The movies, video games. I want to be the guiding source. So as soon as possible, I'm going to teach my children about firearm safety, using toy guns as props.
So, again, being careful how we talk about stuff. There are all kinds of rap music. There's Christian rap.
True.
There's old school rap. There's gangster rap.
Okay.
So we can't blanket rap music and say rap music is the.
All right, I'm gonna roll it back.
I mean, just come on now, come on.
Gangster rap.
I'm gonna roll it back. I listen to rap music.
Okay, me too. You know.
So.
As it relates to fire.
But again, if you got to hear what's being said though.
Right.
Intent versus impact.
Okay.
When you just make a blanket statement, rap music, because so many people did that.
Okay.
You know, Tupac had to go to court, you know, and fight because, you know, like all music is. But so anyway, I just want to make sure we do that.
Right.
But the other thing is, when you talk about culturally, I had the benefit of being raised in both New York and Birmingham. Parents from each, and I spent summers in one place, you know, school in another place. In the South, and we got anybody in here from the South, Southern roots, Mississippi, Tennessee, you know, it's a very different culture,
Yes,
gun-wise, in the South. Guns was everywhere. I mean, it was a 45 that sat on the table. It was a shotgun that sat in the corner. And I could go in every room in our house, and I knew where the guns were because that was the culture of the South. And we knew not to touch them. And my brothers had learned how to hunt early from my grandfather, and I finally was like, look, when you going to teach me? And, you know, so we had these conversations. So I think what we do, and I'm going to tell you, I was someplace volunteering for Christmas, and a bunch of toys got donated, and guns got donated. And I watched the organizers, we can't give out any guns. Get rid of all those guns. They must be, I understand it, I really do. But where are they going to get the education then? From the streets?
I think Homer has a
From
take on that,
friend?
though.
Where did they get the education from?
I too am one that I've been blessed. This year will be the 32nd annual Homer Blow birthday party for the kids, ages 2 to 13 years old. And right now, in the climates that we've been in our community or my community, they're not being educated for me to give out toy guns at my birthday party for the kids. I've seen people where there are children that do have toy guns, not from my party. So like I say, it's never been a part of me giving away toy guns. I don't care if it's a colorful Super Soaker, because now they got guns that are neon color that look like toys. And because I know that a lot of them, unfortunately, are not coming up and being raised in environments where they're getting that gun safety. They're not getting taught how to properly use a gun. I've seen other kids out with toy guns that are running around talking about break yourself, do this, I'll murk you, I'll this, I'll that. That would tear me apart to see that at my birthday party for the kids. I have 3,000 to 4,000 people that are out there. And if I see them running around doing that is not what I want to do. That is not the message. Until our community really understands the importance of teaching gun safety and teaching our children, I hear the language that some of our young children are using and some of the teens are using. So that lets me know I'm not going to feed into that problem right now until I know they know better.
But what I do is have a side section with some people that, you know, are trained in guns to be able to say, this is what you do. You need to understand X, Y, Z, because if kids are not getting it at home, we have to create opportunities for them to get it somewhere.
I don't think it's with my
and it may
3,000 to
not be your
4,000
job.
people at the birthday party for the kids.
And I appreciate that. It might
to
not
get
be
that
your
training.
specific job,
Not there.
but we've got to get it to them some way.
Let
We
me
do
jump
it all
in.
the time.
Let me
If
jump
kids
in
don't
real-
get things at home, we make sure we figure out a way to get them information.
Let me jump in real quick, but this is an issue of mental health too, and mental health wellness. And I think I understand, I could see both points, Michelle. I understand where Homer is coming from, and I understand where you're coming from. I think we do have a mental health wellness issue in our community. And I think when you have that going on, it's hard to see everything in such cookie cutter format, because we know some of the parents can't.
But I think we got to be careful, because it seems like we're too quick to throw everything under the mental health umbrella. Homer even said it himself. Some folks are just, and I hate to use the word bad actors, because every time I think of that, I think of David Clark and I lose my mind. But, there are people that just do things wrong. They don't know the proper way, the appropriate way to do this. Right. Everything is not a mental health issue. Right. It's a lack of information issue, a lack of training, a lack of whatever it is we need to give to people to make better decisions. Right. I'm just saying we got to figure out a way to make sure that this information is available for those people that want it.
So I just posted this on my social media the other day. The post read, honestly, until I took the time to unpack my traumas and identify my triggers, I wasn't in the right mental space to be around firearms or handle firearms. Doing the internal work changed everything, right? So we got to learn how to look in self in order to cure the problems that we have in our community, right? And again, if we're not talking about our traumas, like most black people in Milwaukee, right, we could directly trace our traumas back to something that happened, right? I was 8 years old when I first seen somebody shot. You know what I mean? I was 8 years old when I seen somebody shot 9 times and die and fall on my sister, right? So that's trauma, and we don't even know that we have it, right? We don't even know. It took for me to go get some help to where I'm like, why am I angry?
Yeah.
What am I upset about? What is this for, right? Why do I have this chip on my shoulder? And I didn't realize it until I got the help that I needed first, and then I was able to unpack my traumas and get familiar with my triggers. Now I can use proper de-escalation techniques with everybody, knowing that this person is probably experiencing the same type of trauma that I had growing up.
We got a question.
So good. Before I get to the question, I just want to mention, Jay just sent over to me that there's a book called Erica's Big Day. This is a gun education book that's out there. Jay's from Shepherd Arms, and I know, Eddie, you guys are working on one too. So I just want to put a pitch for that. But here, Thran.
Yes, I actually have a comment, and hopefully it can generate some more intentional conversations. But first, I want to say thanks to you for putting this together, for facilitating this, and Mr. Causey and everybody here. More conversations like this need to take place. It's uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable. You get to see a lot of different, mindsets, and it gets passionate and heated. But these uncomfortable conversations is how we're going to experience growth.
And just to add to that, before you ask your question, the things that are missing in a majority here today is people who could have brought a young person.
Exactly.
Because these teens and these younger children need to be included in a lot of these conversations, and they're not. I salute the young children that are in here, and we should all give them a hand, and to those who brought them. But in a lot of these conversations, unfortunately, the youth are missing. Us that can learn to do better if we're not doing better, we're here. Yes. But what about those teens that are doing that? What about those younger children that are being exposed to that? They need to be here.
Yeah. So my comment, I just wanted to say, we're a part of a couple different gun organizations and associations. So I got a book, one of my monthly subscription booklets in the mail, and I flipped open a page, and there was a statistic from the FBI. And the statistic related to all gun-involved court cases or issues that involved a gun, and what happened with those situations. And what it spoke to, it said, it found that 99.9% of the time, in these instances, a lethal response was found not justified. So think about that. So the reason I bring that up is because sometimes what happens in these conversations is we get caught with on the surface of what are we going to do about gun violence, right? And gun violence is not the issue, and the problem is the symptom. The reason it's the symptom is because thinking about that statistic, 99.9% of the time, right, whether you're a CCW holder or not, whether you're in a situation, the history is there, right, and it says that lethal force is not going to be justified. So the problem is we need to learn how to conflict with each other. Conflict. So conflict is not a bad thing. It's not a bad word, right? Because we do it every day, right? So we need to know how to effectively conflict with each other. So that's what we need to be teaching our youth. So when we talk about safety awareness and firearm education, we're not just talking about safe handling, how to store that firearm. We need to start with, what are you going to do in the conflict? How are you going to de-escalate, right? So when you come to a prolific arms CCW class, right, we talk about not the what, the why. We're here because whether you get a concealed carry permit or not, right, we're here to help you decide whether you're mature enough to conflict, and if you are, then you make the decision to own the weapon. We're not discouraging or encouraging you. That's something you got to look into yourself. But anyway, my point is we have to be more intentional about having conversations about how to properly conflict with each other, because it's a normal daily occurrence. And in our inability to do that, whether it's a gun, whether it's a car, whether it's a baseball bat, we're going to continue to deal with violence.
Seen your hand up here. I'm coming around. Here we go.
Okay, hey everybody. First, I'm a mental health therapist back here, so if anyone needs us, Kimberly and I are back there. But second, I want to just add, it's a comment and a question. First, I agree with the education as far as around gun safety training. My dad was an avid gun collector. My children, my 3 boys, African males, started hunting and going out in the woods at the age of 4, actually. None of them have recklessly used anything. They were raised in the 06 zip code. One of them now is a CCW trainer. He offers free gun safety training to children for free. And what he just commented on is the biggest part of it is the conflict resolution piece and the education around that. Second, it's just, I came to mind, sometimes starting with the children, it reaches the adults. Sometimes the adults are already set in their ways, so I agree with starting with children at a very younger age. I've worked in schools. I've seen children as young as 5, as he was saying, angry. Dad was killed. Now uncle is out of his life because dad is no longer there, and now uncle is dealing with his, uncle is, so getting to a younger age with the training, again, I emphasize that, and they're hunters. They don't just collect guns for no reason. We were hunters. We go up north on land, but in 06 zip code, it's my kids are the only ones there. 3 black males and my daughter are the only kids that hunt. Now they're grown, but they were doing it from the age of 4. They were. So I believe in that. And one thing I want to ask is to tell the difference between the open carry law, because I hear that a lot. Like, well, I can carry a gun, it's open carry. And then the difference between, what's the difference between those two?
All right, so open carry is you exposing your gun to the public, right? So a law enforcement officer or anybody can see that you're carrying a weapon. but at the same time, it's a great disadvantage too. That's why in the city of Milwaukee, I can show you at least 30 videos where someone had their gun snatched from them, right? Because they wasn't carrying it properly or it wasn't concealed. Concealed carry is one, it gives you the tactical advantage, right? So again, you concealing your weapon, you want to go with an inside waistband holster or a belly band holsters, the different type of holsters that's going to allow you to conceal that weapon and not have the public to know that you're actually carrying a weapon in the first place. And that's the way you can avoid being targeted for your weapon too as well. So can I answer your question? So the difference is. So, right, we are an open carry state, right? And technically, you can, and we don't encourage it, but technically, you can be 18 and open carry a weapon at 18, right? Concealed carry law is 21, so you need to be 21 in order to conceal a weapon. So we just advise concealed carry because, again, you're moving around the city. It's a lot of people who target people who are open carrying a gun. And again, I can show you at least 30, 40 videos. You can pull it up on YouTube and look up that some of those videos yourself.
James, we're at 11:30 right now. We could do one more question maybe. I know we told people we were going to start the information fair lunch and so forth downstairs, but let's do this question, then we probably should get to close into.
Let's do 2 or 3 more questions.
Okay,
If
keep it
people wanna
going.
go
Yeah, I know there's a
downstairs
lot of questions on the floor, and there'll be time for conversation
Yeah, if people want to
afterward
go
too.
downstairs and grab
Okay.
something to eat, they can. Go.
Here's a question here.
Thank you. Easy access to firearms is one of the root causes of violence. That said, about 8 months ago, Wisconsin State Senate Bill 332, which is a ban on ghost guns, 336, which is universal background checks, including for private sales, and 368, which is safe storage requirements for firearms, all stalled in committee. What role do you see the Wisconsin State Legislature, a place where there's no shortage of opinions about the causes and solutions of Milwaukee gun violence, what role do you see the legislature in addressing the problem?
All right, let me take it.
I want to comment on that one too.
Yeah, well, as somebody who worked in the state legislature for 20 years off and on, I worked for former state senator Lena Taylor. Many of the laws that you just cited were laws and bills that she introduced and advanced in terms of red flag laws, comprehensive background checks. A number of the laws that you're talking about, they came up year after year. We do know that we have a government, and again, for folks that try not to be partisan, but some things you just have to tell the truth about. The Republican Party is a party that staunchly believes in the Second Amendment right, and they don't want to see really any, body impede on any of those rights in any way. Not even when you say, but what about, a family member being able to say, I think my family member is going to go do harm. We should have red flag laws. They don't want to see anything that they think, I remember when we were having all these scares about gun shootings in schools. Rather than do something proactively about guns, the word became harden the schools. So more security doors, bulletproof this, and spending $20,000 and $30,000 to put special, equipment in the schools rather than doing something about gun ownership and who has access. So, the question is a loaded question, but I think most people in this room are old enough and mature enough to appreciate that there is one party that will absolutely not do anything that infringes upon Second Amendment rights. And there is other folks that are saying, can we figure out a way to do this differently? And so we went back and forth. And I will also say, I remember Senator Taylor was the only Democratic legislator that voted for concealed carry in the state. And people wanted to kill her, literally. And, we heard, but you from Milwaukee and all the crime in Milwaukee. I'm going to say this. It's going to be unpopular, and then I'm going to get off this mic. But again, Black people need to have the same rights that everybody else has to carry a firearm. And I'm going to say one other piece. I work in talk radio. I had people call me terrified because we have a lot of racial tension and animus going on in the country. And there was a pickup truck full of white men in AR-15s riding through black neighborhoods. This happened several years ago. Roughly 25% of black people in this country own a gun. 1 in every 4. Black people literally were saying, what should we do? Because that reality that one set of people, gun ownership is natural. It's encouraged. I mean, not in every household, of course. And then in our community, not just legislators saying no, not just black folks saying no, everybody says no. And so this is one of the things I just can't get past when we talk about gun ownership. But no, we have a legislature that's not willing to do it.
I second everything that Michelle was saying. I just want to say, as it relates to that 1 in 4, I guarantee you that's only legally. That's just
All right, so you look at, like, across the country, you look at states like Illinois, you look at states like California, New York, have the most restrictive gun laws in the country, right? Meaning magazine capacity restrictions, what type of guns they can have. Criminals do not care about the law. Whether you make the laws or not, they don't care. They don't care, right? Terrorists, they don't care. Somebody's going to shoot up a school, they don't care about laws. Laws only restrict people that abide by the law, right? We abide by the law, right? We do everything we have to do to be gun owners. The most restrictive states, like, again, Chicago, one of the most violent places in the country, but have the most restrictive gun laws in the country. That, to me, says, what are gun laws there for? These restrictive gun laws, only a magazine capacity restriction in Chicago, they can only have 10 rounds. You got criminals down there that have a 30-round magazine or a drum. They don't care about the magazine restriction. Say that again? Right. All right. So if it comes from it's always, again, that's the easiest thing to say. Like, yeah, it comes from Indiana, it comes from Wisconsin, it comes from, no, it exists. They exist. And those laws only restrict us as law-abiding
Yeah, but we
citizens.
can't make laws based on the behavior of criminals. So if we say that nobody should have magazine capacity at X, Y, and Z, that needs to be applicable across the board. And because we got people that violate the laws, I'm still not willing to, make more rounds or ammunition, and I'm not talking about this in the correct way, but I'm still not willing to make more available. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And
So
just
what's
because we
wrong?
got, I'm saying for people to have, like, you see people that have shown up at some of these scenes, and the capacity of ammunition that they have and cartridges and what they can hold. I mean, we were in Vegas right after the shooting over by Mandalay Bay.
Uh-huh.
And that guy was able to take out all of those people in seconds.
How?
Because of the amount of fire ammunition he had.
No, he had a bump stock, which
Well, and
basically
we did,
made
and we did legislation on bump stocks here in Wisconsin. Senator Taylor introduced that too. I'm familiar with that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, we made bump stocks illegal, or the goal is to make bump stocks illegal. So just because he had it and people get access to them, we still have to do what we think is right. What is reasonable for people to be able to have in their homes? There are people that got stockpiles like they're getting ready to start World War III.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah, it is.
Let's get some more
I'm a
questions.
gun owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
so it's, okay.
My name Trill. It's loud. I just had a question, man. We talking about how you get them and all of that. Just carry conceal. How do you lose them? What is the things that you can do to mess up, having your concealed carry and stuff like
That's
that?
a great question. If you become a felon, if you're convicted of domestic violence, that also includes child abuse, if the court deem you not mentally stable, right? I'm missing anything?
I'm getting ready to check.
If you have any restraining orders against you, any court order restraining orders that can restrict your ability to purchase and maintain or even have a weapon. Those are some reasons you can't.
When you lose it, can you get it back?
Like a restraining order, after it expires, then yes, you can reapply for your concealed carry license. Or if you've been mentally committed to a hospital and that time period has lapsed, then yeah, you can get your CCW license again.
I have a question over here.
Real quick, y'all. So here's my question. In violence prevention, well, let me go back to this. I think what we're talking about is a microcosm of a larger issue. We are band-aiding a really big issue that's happening in our community, and that's the lack of investment in prevention spaces. A lot of times people don't want to fund prevention because they say you can't prove it. But that's a false narrative, because you can prove prevention by the many touch points that you make with a person. And that's how you produce prevention aid. And so one of the things that we also have to really look at is when we talk about the demographic of people that carry firearms, we have to look at their social determinants too, though, that produce violent interactions. When people live in a place where there's no atonement and sadness for their social conditions, violence is the natural response to that. And so and I think Homer alluded to it, it's the take or be taken type of attitude that many of us have, though. You can't take what I got because, I'm driving nice and, I got to keep me a gun, or even somebody said, man, now he got to come up off that, though. It's that mentality, though. And so what I challenge everybody in the room to do is, how do we leverage our own influences in spaces where there's funding, where there's spaces where we operating with young people, even adults who have been in a transformational stage in their life. How do we invest in that level of prevention as a community? And I think that's the bigger issue when we get to talking about like these topics, because this is just a Band-Aid topic. The guns and yes, those are problems. But the major problem is changing mindset, a community mindset. How do we do behavioral change? And a big shout out to Prolific, though, because a lot of their work is the behavioral change in how you handle and hold firearms. So I just want to pose that question to everybody in the room. How can we use our resources, our positions in employment, our influence on our families? What can we do collectively to help change the mindset of our communities? That's it.
So I will just say that it depends on how you define prevention, because everybody will come at this from a different standpoint. Some people will literally talk about like a 414 Life and funding organizations like that. Some people will tell you that you see young people that if they had more options, you don't choose that path. So if we had stronger music programs, if we had stronger, things for our children to be engaged in, one of the things that's frustrating with Milwaukee Public Schools, the minute there's a funding crisis, $46 million right now, we begin to figure out how to strip away everything but the bare bones. But you go to suburban school districts, these kids got every new soccer field, baseball team, football team, marching band, arts club, drama club, and in Milwaukee Public Schools, our kids are being stripped down to nothing. So, I was in high school and I was in 900 things. I ain't had time to get in no trouble. It wasn't nowhere on my radar. So one of the things I think we don't always agree on is, what does prevention look like? What are the things that we have to fund to be able to deal with some of these broader issues? So, I think we get to look at all of it, but I think that that's part of the discussion. We don't necessarily agree what is prevention and how much of one thing gets resources over something else.
Prevention looks like collaboration, right? It's going to look like all of us coming together and being willing to do the work. That's what it's going to look like, and that's the path forward.
Okay, let me jump in real quick. We
got a question
That's
back
something I
here.
said earlier, the community
But
coming
I'm gonna just
together.
say, y'all saying collaboration, that's real general. Collaboration
okay.
is something else.
Well, collaboration. So we partner with the Office of Community Will and Safety. We partner with 414 Life. We partner with a bunch of different organizations to where we're making an impact. St. Charles, right?
But
Department of
but you're making
Corrections.
the point that I was talking about. Many of the things that you are naming are the organizations that's already dealing with kids, or when people have already made those bad choices. That's why I said prevention is, you got to think about what do people classify as that? Because before we ever get to needing St. Charles or this group or that group, when these kids are 4 and 5 years old, there's stuff that's prevention. We don't call it that.
Right.
That should be taking place. So that's all.
Well, there's a proactive approach and there's a reactive approach to it, right? So my thing is to be proactive, to meet them where they're at. Again, some of the organizations we work with, we're going and meeting the youth. We just had this summer, we did 100 youth. Like we went into Marquette, which these kids are upward bounds, all city of from the city of Milwaukee. We meet them where they're at. Go to them. Let's provide them with resources so they know how to deal with conflict.
Let me just jump in real quick.
We have one final question, James, when you're ready for it.
We're going to do one final question, but I just want to read this statistic that gets to the point that you were making. For gun violence in Milwaukee, costs taxpayers approximately $2.1 million per homicide and $644,000 per non-fatal shooting. So we got to change how we do things. We're going to take this last question,
more question.
But what I want to do, there's a resource fair downstairs after this and food, so we could continue this conversation, but this will be the last question.
First, I want to give a amazing shout out to our elected officials that are here, as well as Dominican Center and everybody that came together today. So we keep talking about we want preventative and we want to be at the forefront. But how many of you let your children play these video games? Hasn't it occurred to anybody as to why all of a sudden our crime rate for reckless driving, for gun shootings because of Call of Duty? We need to make individuals accountable and get some of that money that is there, because I don't know not any children who, even at the age of 3, are trying to get on the game. And we also have to think about the addictive personality that goes along with that. Yes, we have a lot of family that oh, he cray. Don't be around him. He's going to have an issue. But also, too, even the most sanest person within a 3-second minimum can become either that statistic of a shooter or a victim of that. And as you said before, being able to calm yourself in that moment, and that those less aggressive tactics, giving more funding to MPS or to different areas and community engagement places, so that where we can have our children think about that mental therapy, because it is costing us the PTSD alone. Our children all over Wisconsin are literally traumatized. You can't go in certain neighborhoods without them saying, oh, that's somebody over there with an AK. And they're used to it. When we should be very upset that our kids are so used to the sound of gunfire, they don't even duck any longer. They see these teddy bears all over the city and now hate teddy bears. But also, too, getting back to that real root of the problem, that mental immaturity, because you can be a grown person with a gun and at one straight moment you can snap. Getting back to the principles of what makes us strong, and all of these partners in this room, when one organization goes for a grant, we should all be behind them. When the new ones come up, we should all be behind them. We have these gun prevention walks at Dominican Center in Anamani, and you see why we have the plants right here? To remind you, life is just bigger than us.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there's some more questions on the floor, but we're going to cut it there, and we're going to take it downstairs to the information fair. So we're asking everybody to come downstairs. We have an information fair. We have lunch for all of you, and let's keep the conversation going.
And thank the panelists.
Yes.
Can we get a hand to the panelists? Thank you so much. Homer, Michelle,
Eddie,
and Minister Simmons. Thank you.
Hey, I want